Let me ask you a question. How much of what you've heard about men's sexual health do you think is actually true? If you're like most people, chances are a lot of what you believe may actually be based on myths, half-truths, or even complete misinformation that's been repeated so many times it starts to sound like fact. And the problem with these myths is that they can create shame, fear, and unnecessary anxiety that stop men from living healthier, more confident, and more fulfilling lives. That's why I wanted to make this video to clear up some of the most common myths about men's sexual health and give you straightforward, supportive, and honest information that can help you feel empowered, not embarrassed. Before I dive in, I want to ask you something. What's a belief about men's sexual health that you've heard your whole life, but you're not sure is actually true? I'd love for you to share it in the comments. You never know. Your question or story might be something that helps another man out there feel less alone. Now, let's get real. Sexual health is one of those topics that almost everyone has questions about, but very few people feel comfortable asking openly. Many men grow up without the chance to talk about it honestly, and instead they pick up information from friends, from the internet, from movies, or from offhand jokes that may not be based on reality at all. And because sexual health is so closely tied to identity, self-esteem, and relationships, believing in myths can do real harm. So today, I want to walk you through some of the most common myths about men's sexual health. And as I do, I want you to know that this isn't about judgment. This is about clarity, compassion, and giving you the tools to better understand your body, your health, and your well-being. One of the most common myths I hear all the time is that sexual health is only about performance. In other words, it's all about whether you can perform in the bedroom. The truth is, sexual health is so much broader than that. It includes physical health, like hormone levels, cardiovascular health, and prostate function. It includes mental and emotional health because stress, anxiety, and depression all play huge roles in sexual well-being. And it includes relationships, communication, and trust with your partner. When we reduce men's sexual health down to just performance, we miss the bigger picture, and that can leave a lot of men feeling like they're failing, even when there's nothing wrong with them. Another huge myth is that sexual health problems only happen to older men. I can't tell you how many younger guys I've talked to who assume that things like erectile dysfunction, low testosterone, or fertility challenges are problems that only show up in your 50s or 60s. The reality is that these challenges can happen at any age. Erectile dysfunction, for example, can be linked to stress, lifestyle habits, or medical conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure. Low testosterone can affect men in their 20s and 30s, and fertility issues can impact couples at any stage of life. By believing that only older men face these issues, younger men may ignore important warning signs or feel embarrassed about getting help. Speaking of testosterone, let's talk about another myth. That testosterone is the magic solution to every sexual health problem. It's true that testosterone plays a big role in things like sex drive, energy, and muscle mass. But not every sexual health concern is caused by low testosterone. And taking testosterone without medical guidance can actually be harmful. For example, if a man has erectile dysfunction caused by poor blood flow, no amount of testosterone replacement will fix that underlying issue. And if testosterone levels are already normal, taking more won't necessarily boost desire or performance. It may just create side effects. That's why it's so important to get tested and talk to a doctor before assuming testosterone is the answer. Here's another myth that comes up a lot, that a man's size determines his sexual health or his ability to satisfy a partner. This is one of the most damaging myths out there, and it's been fueled by unrealistic portrayals in media, comparison culture, and silence around real experiences. The truth is, size has very little to do with pleasure, intimacy, or satisfaction. Most sexual satisfaction comes from emotional connection, communication, and responsiveness to a partner's needs, not from measurements. Believing otherwise can create insecurity that hurts confidence and relationships far more than the actual size itself. Now, let's tackle the idea that sexual health issues are always in your head. Sometimes, when a man experiences a problem like erectile dysfunction, he may hear that it's just stress, nerves, or lack of attraction. While psychological factors can absolutely play a role, it's not always the whole story. Sexual health challenges can also be early warning signs of underlying physical health problems, like cardiovascular disease. In fact, erectile dysfunction is sometimes called the check engine light for men's health because it can be one of the first symptoms of heart problems. So dismissing these issues as just in your head can prevent men from getting care that could protect their long-term health. There's also a common belief that real men don't need help. That if you're a man, you should figure it out on your own, tough it out, or keep it private. This couldn't be further from the truth. Sexual health challenges are medical issues just like any other, and seeking help is a sign of responsibility, not weakness. If you had high blood pressure, you wouldn't think twice about seeing a doctor. Sexual health deserves the same respect. Asking for help can mean talking to a doctor, a therapist, or even a trusted partner, and it can make a huge difference in your confidence, your health, and your relationships. Another myth is that fertility is only a woman's issue. I hear this far too often, and it puts unnecessary blame on women when couples face challenges conceiving. The reality is that male fertility factors contribute to about half of all infertility cases. Things like sperm count, sperm motility, hormone levels, and lifestyle factors such as smoking or excessive alcohol use can all play a role. Believing it's only about women not only creates guilt and pressure, but also delays couples from exploring the full picture and finding solutions together. Let's clear up another misconception, that frequent sexual activity depletes a man's health or uses up something in the body. This idea has been passed down in different cultures, but scientifically it just doesn't hold up. Normal sexual activity, whether alone or with a partner, does not harm a man's health. In fact, regular sexual activity can actually support health by reducing stress, improving sleep, and even benefiting heart health. What really matters is balance, respect for your body, and making sure your choices align with your overall lifestyle and values. And while we're at it, let's talk about the myth that men should always be ready for sex, that if you're a man, you should have an unlimited desire and always be in the mood. This is simply not true. Desire naturally fluctuates with stress, sleep, relationship dynamics, and overall health. Just like women, men can have higher or lower desire at different times, and that's perfectly normal. The pressure to always be ready creates unrealistic expectations and can make men feel ashamed if they don't match that stereotype. Another myth that does a lot of damage is the idea that pornography shows realistic sexual experiences. Many men grow up learning about sex primarily through porn, and while it might seem like an easy way to understand what happens in the bedroom, the truth is that it creates some very unrealistic expectations. Porn is entertainment, not education. It often portrays exaggerated scenarios, unrealistic bodies, and a pace or style of intimacy that doesn't reflect real life. If you hold yourself to those standards, you may feel like you're falling short, even though nothing is wrong. Real intimacy is about connection, communication, and shared experience, not performance or comparison to scripted fantasy. Let's also address the myth that once you develop a sexual health issue, it will never improve. Many men believe that if they start struggling with erections, libido, or fertility, that's just the way it will be forever. But in reality, Many sexual health issues are treatable, reversible, or at least manageable. Lifestyle changes like exercise, better sleep, reducing alcohol, quitting smoking, and lowering stress can make a huge difference. Medical treatments, therapy, or even couples counseling can also open new doors to improvement. Believing that things will never change creates hopelessness, when in fact, there are many options that can restore confidence and satisfaction. Another belief I hear all the time is that if you're having sexual health problems, it means you're less masculine. This myth is rooted in outdated ideas about manhood. The reality is that sexual health challenges are simply human health challenges. They say nothing about your worth as a man, your identity, or your strength. In fact, the men who acknowledge their challenges and take steps to care for themselves are demonstrating true resilience and courage. Masculinity isn't about pretending you never struggle, it's about taking care of yourself and the people you love. Now, let's talk about the myth that men can't do anything to protect their sexual health until there's already a problem. Too often, men wait until something feels wrong before they pay attention. But just like with heart health or fitness, prevention and proactive care matter. Regular checkups, staying active, eating a balanced diet, managing stress, and avoiding smoking or excessive drinking all support sexual health before problems ever start. If you treat your sexual health as part of your overall health, you're not just reacting to issues, you're building a foundation for long-term vitality. Another big misconception is that medications are the only answer for sexual health problems. While medications like Viagra can certainly help, they aren't the only solution. Sometimes the root cause might be psychological stress, relationship tension, or lifestyle habits that a pill alone won't fix. The best approach is usually holistic, looking at both physical and emotional factors and working with professionals who can guide you to the right combination of treatments. A quick fix might sound appealing, but lasting improvement comes from understanding and addressing the deeper causes. Here's another common myth that masturbation causes long-term harm or weakness. This is something many men are told when they're younger, and it often leaves a lasting sense of guilt or shame. But scientifically, masturbation is a normal, healthy activity for most men. It doesn't drain your body, reduce fertility, or cause weakness. In fact, it can have benefits like stress relief and helping you understand your own body better. Of course, like anything, moderation matters. If it interferes with daily life or relationships, then it may be worth reflecting on. But the act itself is not harmful or shameful. Another myth worth addressing is the idea that men should always know what they're doing sexually, without ever needing to learn or ask. This assumption sets men up to feel embarrassed about asking questions or communicating with a partner. The truth is, nobody is born with all the answers. Sexual confidence comes from openness, communication, and willingness to learn. Being able to ask questions, express preferences, and listen to your partner is what builds real confidence, not pretending you already know everything. Let's also talk about the myth that men's sexual health is separate from mental health. In reality, they are deeply connected. Stress, anxiety, depression, or even just feeling disconnected emotionally can all affect sexual desire and performance. And on the flip side, sexual difficulties can increase feelings of anxiety or low self-esteem. It's a cycle. That's why taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. If you're struggling emotionally, addressing that isn't just good for your mind, it's good for your sexual well-being too. Here's another one, that alcohol always improves performance because it helps you loosen up. The truth is that while alcohol might lower inhibitions, it often makes performance more difficult. Excessive drinking can interfere with erections, lower testosterone, and affect fertility. And over time, Heavy alcohol use can create long-term problems for sexual health. A drink or two might relax you, but depending on alcohol as a sexual aid is far more harmful than helpful. Another myth is that exercise and fitness don't matter for sexual health. In reality, your sexual health is closely tied to cardiovascular health, blood flow, and hormone balance, all of which are supported by regular activity. Men who stay active, maintain a healthy weight, and keep their hearts strong often notice better energy, stronger erections, and higher confidence. Fitness isn't about achieving a certain body type. It's about supporting the systems that keep your body functioning at its best. Let's take a moment to address the myth that men don't need to talk about sexual health with their partner. Some men believe it's better to stay quiet, avoid the topic, or figure things out on their own. But silence can create misunderstanding and distance in a relationship. Being honest and open with your partner builds trust, reduces pressure, and helps you work through challenges as a team. In fact, many partners appreciate honesty far more than perfection. Communication is often the key that transforms a sexual health challenge into an opportunity for deeper connection. Another damaging myth is that if you can't maintain an erection, it automatically means you're not attracted to your partner. This simply isn't true. Erections are influenced by many factors: stress, fatigue, medical conditions, hormones, and blood flow, just to name a few. Attraction is just one piece of the puzzle. Believing that difficulty with erections equals lack of attraction can create unnecessary hurt in relationships. The reality is usually much more complex, and often the solution is medical or lifestyle related rather than emotional. I also want to clear up the myth that men don't experience body image concerns. While it's often discussed more openly with women, men also feel pressure about their appearance, size, weight, or fitness level, and this can affect sexual confidence. If you've ever felt insecure about your body, you're not alone. Sexual confidence comes far more from how you carry yourself, how you treat your partner, and how comfortable you are in your own skin, not from looking a certain way. Addressing body image issues is part of taking care of your sexual health, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. There's also a myth that once a man reaches a certain age, his sexual health inevitably declines beyond repair. While it's true that testosterone levels can gradually decrease with age, and that changes in stamina or recovery are natural, this doesn't mean that a fulfilling sex life has an expiration date. Many men remain sexually active and satisfied well into their 60s, 70s, and beyond. The key is to adapt, to take care of your overall health, and to stay open to new ways of experiencing intimacy. Sexuality isn't just about what happens physically. It's also about emotional closeness, creativity, and connection. Another misconception is that men don't need regular sexual health checkups unless something is wrong. The truth is that preventive care is essential. Just like you go to the dentist or get your blood pressure checked, regular screenings for things like prostate health, hormone balance, and sexually transmitted infections are crucial. These visits can catch small issues before they become big ones, and they can give you peace of mind. Too many men avoid going to the doctor until they're in crisis. Taking preventive steps is a powerful act of self-respect and responsibility. Let's talk about sexually transmitted infections for a moment, because there's a big myth that men don't need to worry about them if they feel healthy. Many sexually transmitted infections can be silent, showing no symptoms for long periods of time, but still causing harm or spreading to a partner. The absence of symptoms doesn't mean the absence of infection. That's why regular testing is important if you're sexually active outside of a monogamous relationship. Protecting yourself and your partner isn't just about physical health. It's about respect and trust. There's also the myth that if you face sexual health challenges, you should just avoid intimacy altogether. Some men withdraw completely when they face difficulties, feeling embarrassed or afraid of letting their partner down. But intimacy is about so much more than performance. Even if you're working through challenges, staying connected through touch, affection, communication, and shared experiences keeps relationships strong. Avoiding intimacy often creates more distance and more pressure, while embracing closeness in different ways builds resilience and connection. Another belief is that sexual health is a private issue and doesn't affect other areas of life. In reality, sexual health is deeply interconnected with overall well-being. When a man feels confident and healthy sexually, it often boosts mood, energy, motivation, and relationships. On the other hand, when sexual health issues go unaddressed, they can spill over into stress at work, distance in relationships, or even physical health risks. By taking sexual health seriously, you're not just improving one part of your life, you're supporting your overall happiness and quality of life. One more myth I want to tackle is the idea that once you've tried to improve your sexual health and it hasn't worked, there's no point in trying again. The truth is, every man's body is unique, and what works for one person may not work for another. Sometimes it takes time, patience, and a willingness to explore different approaches. Whether it's adjusting lifestyle habits, exploring therapy, trying medical treatments, or focusing on mental health, solutions are rarely one size fits all. Giving up too soon only closes the door to possibilities that may have worked with the right support. So, where does this leave us? I want you to remember something important. Men's sexual health is not about living up to myths, stereotypes, or unrealistic expectations. It's about understanding your body, respecting your mind, and caring for yourself in a way that supports your overall well-being. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this, it's that you are not alone. Whatever questions or challenges you may have, millions of other men have been through the same things. And there are professionals, partners, and communities ready to support you. So I encourage you, don't let myths dictate your choices. Don't let shame stop you from seeking help. And don't underestimate the power of honest conversation, whether that's with your doctor, your partner, or even in the comments below this video. Remember the question I asked you earlier? What's a belief about men's sexual health you've heard but aren't sure is true? Share it below, because the more we talk about these things openly, the less power myths have over us. Your sexual health matters, your confidence matters, and you deserve to live with clarity, strength, and peace of mind. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for caring enough about yourself to learn and grow. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe for more content like this, and share it with someone who might benefit from breaking free of these myths too. Take care of yourself, and remember, you don't have to face your health alone.